Welcome to my channel, folks. In this third and last video of a three-part series, I'm showing you here now advanced and basic techniques of sewing up this knife slip right here in Kodiak Edge. Welcome, folks, to Kodiak Edge. This is the third and final video of putting together this pocket slip for a traditional folding knife. Here on the table I have tools that's required for hand stitching, and today we're going to learn the saddle stitch, which is the strongest stitch. I'll stitch it all the way around, and these are the tools that are required. Now, some of these tools are for beginners and some are for advanced. So if you don't have them, the cheapest way to go would be with this punch here. You'll punch your holes out for hand stitching this with this and a mallet. If you want a bigger hole, this basic punch here is required. It makes a wider hole, about 2 millimeters versus 1, and it's for a thicker thread. Or you could do what I do, and I use this here, and I'll show you in the video. Okay, by the way, this is a bonus. I'm going to show you how you can make this here with simple stamping tools. Only 2 tools are needed to make this ribbon stamp for a cool looking border on any other pouch that you want to decide to do. I'm going to have a lot of videos on stamping coming up in the future here. So if you ring the bell, subscribe, ring the bell, and you'll get informed when my new videos come up. And I'm looking forward to doing a lot of these different cool patterns for y'all. Okay, now the grooving tool was used in the beginning of the video to make your grooves here that the stitches lie in, so that they don't get wore down in your pocket as fast. Okay, I'm going to show you a technique here on this with these different tools. You need 2 needles. You're going to be sewing in 2 different directions. Your thread, a pocket knife for cutting, and a lighter here for heating up your thread when you're done. This is one of my leather knuckle lighter cases that I make. If you want one, get a hold of me. Other than that, let's get going with this, and I'll show you how I do the saddle stitch on the pocket slips by hand. I don't commonly stitch by hand as much anymore on these. I have an industrial sewing machine for my upholstery work and my leather work. I do most of my sewing now with my machine, but we all have to start hand stitching. We have to learn the basic principles and techniques, and with all due respect, let's get rolling on it. Okay, first of all, you've seen in the first 2 videos how I cut this out, laid it out, and stamped it. In the second video, you've seen how I stained and finish coated it, glued it up, and got it ready to hand stitch. You see this here? I use this grooving tool, it's called, to make a groove around it. And how that is done, again, is take this piece here that I'm showing you as a sample. This is a sample slip cover that I did. I might make it into a slip yet, but I'm using it as a sample. And by the way, I will be showing you in the next video or so, coming up real shortly, how to do this ribbon pattern with just 2 stamps. Okay, it makes a beautiful border on anything, large or small. So again, you gotta make sure this groove is nice and deep, and this groove also acts as a guide for you to punch your stitching out. Now I'm going to show you the different ways I do it, or you can do it with the basic tools and what they look like. Okay, if I make this into a knife sheath, this is the biggest punch here, 2 millimeter holes. It's for wider thread, and I'll probably just use wider thread on this. And after I finish the sample here, I'll do it all with that. But I'm going to show you how I do it now by hand, if you're a beginner, and how it would be done. Okay, this first way would be with this basic punching chisel here, they call it, and then in a mallet. But I forgot to tell you, you need a plastic board to punch through so you don't damage your tips into any hard surface. But so okay, we got the groove line I just cut out with this groove tool, and now I'm going to show you how to punch it here. You just take the punch here, and I like to come about 2 millimeters past the edge and start to punch. You'll line your teeth up in that groove, and that groove acts as a guide to go all the way around. See that? Now you do that all the way around. Okay, and with numerous holes on this at once, it punches it out all the way through and fairly quick. That's the beginner's method. That's the way I started out. These things don't last too long. The tines on them bend and they get dull. And here's the other method with the thicker thread. I'll start in the last hole on that last punch, line it up in that groove, and there's the difference. Thicker thread, bigger holes, right? It's got a bigger spacing. Now you're wondering, how can you take this and go around here? Same with this. I have punches that are smaller with only 2 teeth. I have one of these that are smaller with only 2 teeth. Or with a screwdriver, you can take the teeth out, see? You just Phillips head here, tighten it up when you're done, and you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4, any combination. So this will get you, put it in the last hole you punched, and you just keep doing that around that curve, in that groove that you made. See? Okay, there's the 2 beginner techniques, tools you'll need. Okay, now the way I like to do it, and I'll do it on the actual piece here. I did break one of these off and I have to buy another one, but I still work with it and it still works fine. But this is a handheld. And I just started with the teeth right where I want to begin, in that edge groove that I made, right? So I'll start again 2 to 2.5 millimeters from the end. Make sure it's lined up right on that groove that you made in the beginning. Punch through it. Pull it out. You can see it went all the way through. Now I'm void a hole here, so to compensate for that, with this thing having a broken tooth on it, I'll just line this one up and that one up, and I'm always filling that void, but making sure that both sides of this are in that groove so they're straight when you go to stitch it. Okay? Again. It'd go a little faster if I didn't have one of these teeth. So I will finish this up. You can see it goes clearly through the leather. Okay, I'll finish this up and show you the next technique. Okay, as you'll see here, I've got a stitching horse here, and I got kind of lucky here. This is actually made for a different type of craft, like knitting or something. But I found it at a garage sale and I got it for like $2. I used to have one that sat between my legs. When I sat on the bench, it was between my legs. And I'll leave links for you for them, for the basic ones. That's what I used to have. It would rest underneath, you'd sit on it and it'd hold it in place while it held the leather up here. So as you can see there, zooming in here for you so I don't have to edit this. This is what I got here. And now I will start stitching on it as soon as I show you how I thread the needles next. Okay, I chose to use a red thread here. I think that would really pop nicely on the case here. You could use any color you want. Sometimes I use a tan. I'll show you what that looks like. I could use a tan. This is a wax thread, by the way, and I'll leave you the links on what kind of thread to get if you're a beginner. But I really like the red. Now this is why I finished this completely, okay? Especially if you use a lighter colored thread. If you use white thread, tan thread, anything lighter color, it'll pick up any dyes or anything that goes on it. So this is completely finished. It's just not stitched, and I do it that way, you know, and then I'll hit the edges one more time smoothly before I'm completely finished. But you know, if I'm using a lighter color and I change my mind, I want to go with red. And even the red, the darker stains will darken the thread, and I want the thread to pop. So what I do here is I find out my length of thread that I want by taking a good chunk of this thread here, and I'll go all the way around it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, stitching 3 sides. Here's all the way around it. Now, thin leather like this, 2 5-ounce, 4-ounce pieces of leather, I will go 5 to 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just keep doubling up. 5. And I could probably make it with 5, but for safe measures, I give an extra kick. Okay. So that's how you do that. And this is where you need your knife. Okay, now you got that. This is approximately now about 4 feet long. 6 times the dimension that I'm working. Because we're going to do a saddle stitch here, and it's a double stitch technique. Now you'll take your needles. I got 2 needles here. Right? In order to thread this, we want to flatten the ends as much as possible. About 5-6 inches. Okay? You'll take that, nice and flatten out, and you'll see why. And you start your thread in there. You'll get in there, come down about where you started flattening it, right about there, and I'll poke it through. See, when it's flat, it's easier to poke it through. 1, 2, 3. I'll take that, I'll grab it, grab the other end at the same time, and pull them both tight. There we go. That'll never come off. I'll do the same to the other side. Flatten her down. about a good 4 or 5 inches. Okay. Again, second needle. Through. Makes it easier to go through the thread. It's not so rounded. 1, 2, and 3. Pull it tight. Pull the slack out. Sometimes it's hard. Okay, that's good enough. That now we got both sides of the thread needles on the thread, and we're ready to go to stitching horse. Okay, here I have what they call pull the cap off, a leather punch to widen your holes. Not all the time you need to use it to make your hole wider, okay? But handheld punch, hole punch that I use works fairly well. Now you got both needles at equal length, and what you'll do is you'll start out at your first hole. You'll bring it through, put the needles together, and tighten up your slack. Now you know you're even. Now what I like to do is wrap around the top, and I'll show you that in detail later, before I start doing the regular saddle stitch. So I'll come around on the top, and I'll go through that same hole I started in. And pull that tight, making sure that this loop is on the top of the sheath. This ties the top of the leather together so it doesn't want to fray out. Okay, now I'm ready to start my saddle stitch. Now the next hole, I'll go in it through the front. I'll come here, leave a little loop. I'll come here, go through the same hole I just went through from the back side. Now before I pull it all the way through, I'm going to take this loop I made and go over the needle. You're essentially wrapping over the thread that's coming through. And that's what makes the saddle stitch so strong. Now I'll pull both tight. I'll continue that all the way down. Go through the front. Leave that little loop. Come through the back with the other needle. Same hole you just went in. Wrap my thread around the needle. Pull them both tight. Leave my loop. Next needle come through the back. You just went through. Wrap your thread around clockwise around the needle. Pull it through. That gives a nice lock on the stitch. Same thing. Now this here is moving on me, so I'll put my feet on it. Next hole. And I just, instead of using that needle punch, I just move the needle around and open it a little bit better. It makes it easier to go through. Leave that loop. Wrap it around. So essentially you're running the needles from both directions. In. Leave the loop. Take the other side needle. Come back through that hole you just went through in the other just now. Wrap this thread around the needle. I can normally do this in about 20 minutes if I'm not teaching somebody. I'll show you what it's like my regular time. And then I'll pause the video and finish it up. You don't have to pull like the Dickens here. Just pull it nice and taut. Got my loop there. You make a lot of goods for people. You'll invest in a sewing machine. Like I got an order for 4,000 wallets to be made for the Union Carpenters in St. Louis, Missouri by next Christmas for their Christmas presents with the UBC logo stamped on it. I'll use my machine. Then I can do a couple hundred wallets a day if I have to. Not a day, I mean a couple hundred a week. By hand, it would take me every day till Christmas to get 4,000 wallets done. But this process is just repeated over and over again. Through the hole in the front, pull it till you got that loop. Some guys stick both needles in at the same time. You can if your holes are bigger, but it just leads to frustrating things, and you don't want to try to stick your needle coming from the backside into this thread. And with experience, you'll tell if you're going into it. Then you got to back the needle off and try again, because it'll want to bind up on you. But you're talking on this little guy probably about 15 minutes a side for a beginner. I can do this side in about 5 minutes if I wasn't talking. Yeah, I make it look easy, but you know what? I've been doing this for 20 years, so I've been sewing for 35 years. Now see, if you catch the needle in the thread while it's going through and it's grabbing it, just pull the slack out and usually it'll take it off that needle point. Come through, wrap around, pull it. That's what locks the stitch in, like individual knots after each hole. But you gotta learn how to crawl before you can run. And doing it this way is learning to crawl before you run. The running is using a sewing machine, but you know what? You don't ever have to do leather work unless you're doing, like I said, large volumes with a machine. You can get it all done by hand. This is officially, and to tell you the truth, I still go back to this because there's times when I want to do it. There's times when it's more relaxing than threading up a bobbin, you know what I mean? Machines make things a little easier, but they don't also make things more enjoying. There's nothing better than acquiring a skill by hand that'll last you the rest of your life. And I learned how to hand sew, really, this stitch, in fact, in the U.S. Navy. On the ship, nothing to do. I learned a couple hundred knots. Being a boatswain's man, I learned how to tie over 200 knots proficiently. And I still remember a good 50 of them that I can tie. But you gotta fix your uniforms, sew your patches on, you know. You gotta know how to sew. At least being in the military you do. And when you gotta kill time, really, what's more relaxing? You can clean your guns over and over again, but that's boring. To me it was. I mean, cleaning guns are boring. This here is relaxing. So this took me about probably 10 minutes with y'all. I'm not going to bore you with this another 10-15 minutes. I'm going to pause the video and get towards the end and show you what I do. Now I'm hitting the last stitch here in the corner. And I'm going to turn the corner. After I get this last stitch in now, go around the needle just like you have done. Lock it in. Turn the corner. I just put this up like this. Clamp it back in. And just go. I'll do one more stitch here. There's that loop. This is a wax thread, so it moves pretty fast through the leather. Over the top. Boom. Pull it tight. Alright, I'm going to pause the video and finish her out. When I come to the end, I'll show you what I do to secure the nut. Okay, here I am at the end. I got you a little bit better view here, hopefully. Again, you got both needles equal distance apart. I've sewn all the way around this, and I'm coming to the last few stitches. So I'm going to show you once again what I do. You go in through the front or the back, it don't matter when you start. Pull your needle through the thread. Okay, you got that loop there, right? Drop that needle, other needle from the other side. Go back through the hole that you just came through with the front side. Okay, now make sure that this needle don't get into this thread. If it does, just back the needle or pull the thread. Okay, so like I said, you're going to wrap that over and you're going to pull it through. That's what locks the stitch and makes it uniform. Makes it a much tighter stitch, which makes it the saddle stitch the toughest stitch there is for leather. If these holes, like I said, are too small, you can use this leather punch tool. Now these things are basically just stuck through the leather like the needle. You can see going through the other side, you're basically reaming the hole out bigger, right? That's what its purpose is. Now these are most commonly used on thicker leather. It's not a problem just using your needle here. With this thinner leather up to say 5 ounces. You get up to 6-7 ounces, it gets a little tougher. That's where this comes in. Depending on the size of the punch. If you go with the bigger punch, you know, in the bigger thread, it's a lot easier. But these are invaluable to have, and I'll have a link on them. I'll have a link for all my tools. So again, go through, right? Leave your loop. Bring the other side through the same hole that you just went through. Wrap it around. Lock it in. Pull it back. Locks it in. Okay, now I've got one more stitch here before I perform the overstitch. And like we started, the overstitch is just over the top. See that? And that's going to keep the tops from fraying. Some people start it by doing the overstitch right like that. And you can do it either way. This one right here or right there. I like to go off the top because that's the alignment of the thread. I'll hold that, go through that last hole that I just stitched in, hold it taut. Okay, that's nice and tight. Now I'll go through the next hole that I stitched in before this hole and get it to my back. Okay, there we go. Now that it's on the back, you can see it goes over the top, goes over the top. Now that it's in the back, I'll show you on the table how I finish it off. But yeah, I'll have a link for you for these horses, so don't worry about what's the better, you know. You can get one on Amazon for 14-15 bucks, and I'll have all the links for you. Okay, get back to the table. What I'll do now, I have both threads coming out the back because I'm going to tie them together. So I'll cut off the needles first, get them out of my way. All right. Now you're going to do an overhead knot. Okay, here's your left thread, right thread. So now you'll go right over left, tie it. Now you'll go left over right, tie it. That's it. That's your overhead knot. Now you take your trusty Swiss Army knife here, and you'll cut it within an 1/8 inch or so, leaving about that much. It could be a little less. Then you take your lighter, right? You're going to melt that. Push it down with your lighter, nice and flat. Okay, there we go. It's locked in, never to come out. Okay, now I'm going to get me a boning tool and open this up and show you the beautiful knife I got plans for. But before I do that, really, I'm going to show you where the stitching, the saddle stitch, comes into play here. See, I guided my hole punches pretty straight, right? So now we're going to make these threads even pop more. We're going to lock the stitches more, they call it. Lock down the stitches and make them more presentable. So use a little hammer like this and slowly work your way around the edges. Don't go into your stamping. That's what it looks like, see? You see how much thicker that is than over here? And it makes it pop more, see? This lays it in that groove even more. No rough edges or anything's hanging up to where you can catch it in your pocket. Turn around and do the other side. There you have it. See how them threads look a lot more uniform and pop a little more? I like that red, see, with that brown, dark brown. I think that's cool. I could put a knife in here with a little bit of red accent to the knife. And now I'll open this up and I'll show you in a second. Okay, you can get these boning tools, they call them, which these are actually plastic. You can get them in different configurations. I got 2 more around here floating somewhere. But their purpose is to open up leather along a seam, you know, or to really tuck leather when you're, you know, when you're molding leather, wet leather to, say you're making a knife sheath, you want to mold the leather to the knife, or the leather to the edge of the knife. You'll take this, you'll take these and you'll run them, you know, along that knife, give you that nice sharp corner. Most of the time, if you got one of these already, just an antler. Just stick it in there like that. Come all the way down to the bottom. And just pull along them threads. That opens the glue up that you had originally glued it. It doesn't have to be so tight. See, I'm running this tip along them threads actually. Open it up. See, you'll see it coming through. See that? Right along them stitches, opens it up, go all the way down to the bottom and do the same. Okay. Like I said, that's just a piece of antler. I'll make sure this ain't as sharp as it is. I just grabbed it. But I got one under the heap somewhere. That's all rounded off, you know. But get you a piece of antler or just buy a set of these Amazon for like $5. So I'll find the knife for this now. Okay, here it is. I love collecting Craftsman knives. These are Sears Craftsman. Each one's different. I got on this one here, Sears Stainless, USA. And I just got this in the mail from my good buddy Claude Williams, who comments on most of my posts, and he will again probably on this one. And I want to thank you, Claude, for the wonderful Christmas present. You gave me this Camillus cutlery 125 years in 2001. So 24 years later, this is 150 years. I absolutely love it, Claude. You are the man. I owe you, brother. It's coming in the mail. My wife got on me about not mailing yours because I didn't think Kim mailed your wife's yet. So yours is going to be out Monday. Look at this beauty. There's a little bonus for y'all. See if I can zoom in here a little on it. Camillus, New York, USA, 125th in 2001. Love it. Absolutely love it. 125th Camillus. I seen him show me this, texted me pictures of it, and then instantly gave me a Woody, folks. I love my Camillus. I love my German handmade knives. There's no finer knives. Case don't even compare to the handmade German knives. Don't even compare. And the majority of my collection now is going into the tool company, always. I'll buy an older case before the 90s. Case classics were the best ever made, but they were made by Jim Parker and Bluegrass Cutlery out of Camillus, contracted Bluegrass Cutlery to make the case classics, which were the best knives they ever made. So here's the slip. It's all finished, looking good, and it deserves a home. It's got I got my Facebook link in my description on top of my YouTube channel. You can go to my Backwoods Leather and see all my handcrafted goods, everything from a Clint Eastwood spring draw holster to a cowboy boot purse for your wife. So we'll take this newest edition I have here, which is this one, I believe. Yep. The middle, I had these two before, the smaller one. Now I got a middle. And each one is different. Like I said, this one's Craftsman USA. This one's Sears Stainless USA. I think this is Sears Craftsman. Sears Craftsman USA. Oh yeah. And these here, Craftsman Stainless USA. I can't focus in on it, but you get the picture. I love the saw shield. Saw blade shield. This one's got a saw blade shield on it too. And this one says, hard to read, Camillus Ulster USA. So Camillus, damn it, Ulster, Schrade. A couple other companies, they made these specifically for Sears and Roebuck back in the day. Here we go. A little small, but you squeeze that and then it shakes right out. How about this little guy here? Oh yeah, that goes in there nicely. So I'm gonna have to put my peanuts in it, or my small miniatures. But there she is, folks. That concludes the 3-video series of hand making a pocket slip, custom carving it, and hand sewing it. I hope you enjoyed the videos, and if you got any questions, please leave them in the comments, or if you got any ideas for future videos, what you think I should do, or if you have any ideas on what you want carved, more in-depth detail on stitching, the different techniques. I know a myriad of hand stitching, it's just not the saddle stitch. And I will have videos. And if you go to I know this is getting long, this video here, but if you go to my playlist underneath my header on my YouTube channel, click on the playlist. I got all kinds of great videos in there, from featured videos from cutlery companies around the world, the history of the companies. I got videos on people that I follow, from the Knife Doctor to Big Barlow Jim, Barlow Brigade, Deep South Cutlery. You know, I've got lots of learning things in my playlist and lots of my different things I do. Guns. I'm going to start coming up with videos for outdoors activities and things to do with knives in the wild. Survival things. I'm not going to really like go after what everybody else is doing. I'm going to do my own thing, finding my niche, and then start filming it. So, but I've got a lot of different things that I've done in my life that I'm going to be filming and showing, and that'll be in my playlist, and you'll see them pop up on my videos if you ring the bell. So, you know, I don't want to be like everybody else, you know, but I want to be just as informative and instructional as I can be, help you make all the right decisions when it comes to repairing your knives, fixing, cleaning them, and collecting them, or, you know, understanding them, and my lifelong history of this wonderful knife community I've been belonged to for the last 20, 30 years. I'm now putting it on film, and I enjoy your company, and I hope you enjoy my videos. And just like I said again, and I'll cut this off, leave me a comment, let me know what you think I should or should not film, or any questions you have, I can answer them for you. So I'll probably be going live here again, usually on Sundays between 7 and 10. So be looking for it, and thanks for watching, folks. And where's my Miss Emmy Lou at? She took off on me. Emmy. Oh well, can't have her every day, I guess. Till next time, folks. Peace.